This is an airplane. This is something you shouldn't be afraid of. These two things are the same. That's also an airplane, and that one, that's an airplane too. And all these out there, they're all airplanes. But let me tell you why you shouldn't be afraid of the old bug smasher here, or for that matter, an airline or any other airplane you're gonna go fly on. Now, I'm gonna assume that you clicked on this video because for some reason you're afraid of flying, or because the video just looked at I don't know why you clicked on this video, but let's just imagine you're afraid of flying for a second. Hold on. And there's a lot of reasons why you shouldn't be. Now, you're probably saying, or maybe you're not, AJ, look, there's nothing that you can say to get me to stop being afraid of flying. I've heard all of the logic. I know why I shouldn't, but I just can't. Yes, you can. Stop saying that. And here's why. So I'd imagine that there's two different categories of flying that you could be afraid of. The airlines, which is, obvious, and I'll get into that in a minute, or little airplanes like your buddy Joe invited you and your family to go flying in his Cessna. Little airplanes like this. Well, I don't know if you can consider a T6 Texan little, because it's not really little, but it's a littler. So let's imagine that I, AJ the Great, just invited you to go flying in the good old bug smasher, and you're a little bit nervous. I don't imagine why you would be. It's not like there's patches in the fabric, a weird looking cracked window, bad paint. It was built in 1943, and grease all over the place. It's perfectly safe and normal, right? It's all perfectly safe, and let me explain to you why. Pilots are extremely well trained, even private pilots who fly little airplanes like this. It is one of the most regulated licenses in the world to get. Lots of recurrent training that's required, initial training, endorsements for everything. And it's not like a driver's license where you can just hop in this and then go straight to even something like this requires extra training, which makes total sense. Also, mechanically, airplanes have so many requirements. It's not like your car where you just drive it until something breaks and then fix it. With an airplane, you gotta fix it before it breaks. You can't just pull over on the side of the road, right? So I'm not gonna go into the details, but airplanes are inspected constantly. There are a ton of different requirements, especially depending on what type of airplane it is, what it's being used for, how much it's being used. There are constantly inspections and mechanics constantly looking at these airplanes, whether it's a tiny airplane like this, or once again, like a 737. Now this bad boy will take you as far as you wanna go. Unlimited range in this bad boy, 1,000 plus horsepower, unlimited fuel endurance, got it all. Even though I may joke about this airplane having the glide ratio of a greased brick, it doesn't mean that it doesn't have a glide ratio. What I mean by that is airplanes, if we were to lose an engine, or, well, in this case, the engine, it doesn't mean that we're just gonna fall out of the sky. We can glide and land where we need to. Helicopters also have a function similar to that, if you're wondering, and it's called auto rotation. How does it work? I don't know. I don't fly helicopters. If you do, let us know down in the comments below. But that's why as pilots, as we're flying along, no matter what we're doing, we are constantly looking for places to land in case of an emergency, like an engine failure, a fire, or something like that. Now, what happens if there is a fire? Well, in an airplane like this, I don't have a fire extinguisher. So we just land as soon as humanly possible in order to get the fire out. But there are also measures that we can get a fire out without a fire extinguisher. And we have procedures for landing the airplane in case of something like that does happen. Again, not gonna go into all the details because this video would be like 3 hours long. Let's say that your pilot passes out. Well, then you're fucked. I'm just kidding, but that is a scenario that has happened before. And there have been scenarios, actually one went very viral on TikTok recently, of a pilot being incapacitated or passed out and the passenger of the airplane landing the airplane. This passenger had no flight experience, never flown an airplane before, but they were able to get on the radio and be talked through it by air traffic control. And a CFI, a certified flight instructor, was able to hop on the frequency and be able to instruct the pilot how to land the airplane. And they lived. Not only that, it wasn't that terrible of a landing. Because of that accident and others, myself, and I'm sure many other pilots, have incorporated into our safety briefing before we take passengers how to operate the radios in case something happened to me. Because in this airplane, where there's only one pilot and one passenger, if I were to become incapacitated, everything falls on the passenger. So I give them basic flight instructions, and I also tell them how to operate the radio and talk to people in case they ever needed to, because I can't. Remember, it's not just gonna fall out of the sky. In all seriousness, jokes aside, I really hope that you can get over your fear of flying. There are tons of videos out there that explain to you techniques about how to get over the phobia of flying. And also, if you're afraid of heights, it is not the same thing as the fear of flying. If you're afraid of heights, but but you think you're okay flying, you probably will be. I have never had somebody who's afraid of heights be in an airplane and be afraid of the height. It's a completely different feeling. You don't really get that queasy feeling like you do when you're on top of a ledge. Now, the statistics of crashing, if you're a numbers person, is so incredibly low compared to driving a car. I don't have an exact statistic on me, but I want to say that I read one time that it was like multi times over the chance of you dying on the way to the airport in your car than you actually dying in the airplane. Hopefully this gave you a little bit of peace of mind about flying, whether it's in your friend Joe's little airplane, little Cessna, or a 737. There's tons of ways to mitigate the fear of flying, and even though some of this facts and logic may not necessarily appeal to your anxiety, there are tons of ways to get rid of it. But hopefully this made you rest a little bit easier. Everybody, thank you so much for watching. AJ, and I'll catch you tomorrow. Go flying, start living.